Hello folks, we're starting an exciting project now. We're going to call it the Fishtank. We're going to use our main program here. I'm going to go ahead and call mine Fishtank 2. Okay, and this is going to be the main sketch where we run all of our all the methods on our classes we're going to need to create. But we're going to need two classes, and the first we'll call fish, and the second we'll call food. Okay, and what we're going to do in this program is we're going to make a nice interactive and visually appealing program that's like a fish tank. We're going to get to feed the fish, and the fish will ultimately get to eat the food. All right, so we'll have a bunch of different things interacting here. Okay, first off, we're going to look at the methods that we would use in our fish class. Let's see, I'll go ahead and start off with class fish. Now you're going to need to keep track of where the fish is and how fast it's going. So this is going to look a lot like the bouncing ball project that you did before. So you'll need to keep track of its X location, the Y location, and the X velocity and the Y velocity. Okay, that should all look pretty familiar. And then here you're going to need to put in all of your initial values for these things. I'm going to use, in the example that I'm going to show you in a minute, I'm actually going to be using random for all these different things. But this is where you will initialize your fish. And for the sake of keeping it simple, I'm going to say do that here, right? Don't pass information in this project in through the constructor. Right. All right, so you're gonna do that, but really what I want to talk about with you is how are you going to get all of your methods together so that things are interactive and things look good. Okay, the first thing a fish does is it swims. So we need a method for swim. It should move the fish around. Okay, and I'm going to suggest that you do this exactly like we did the bouncing ball. Okay, we've done an object-oriented bouncing ball, and so you already know how to do that, and you can copy and just retype in a lot of the things you did before in case you don't remember what to do. Okay, the other thing that a fish does is it looks pretty. All right, fish are nice. And maybe some kind of nice goldfish in our tank. And so this should make the fish appear. Or just draw it on screen. This should draw the fish. Right? And for round one, keep it simple. Right? For round two, when you go back through all this stuff later on, make it change direction. Right? I mean, what you're going to see first, the first time you go through this, you're going to see your fish bouncing and trying to swim backwards, and it's going to look really silly. But that's, that's okay for us right now, and we're just starting out here. Okay, so those are the two methods that we're going to need for our fish. And then we're also going to need a food class. Now the food class, we're also going to need some variables. It's going to need to keep track of each food object is going to need to keep track of its position. So you can go ahead and declare some variables to keep track of your food up there. And then don't forget you'll need to initialize them all for each object. I'm going to make a suggestion that you, for your whatever you're using to keep track of your Y location, I'm going to make a suggestion that will make things look a little nicer, and start off with a negative number for your Y location. Right? Give it some kind of negative number. It'll start out off screen, and it'll look like, food has really been falling into the tank. Okay, and then you'll need to do the rest of those on your own. Okay, but again, very similar to the bouncing ball. All right, and then the fish food isn't just going to float, it's going to sink. So we'll need a sink method. And this moves the food down. All right, and this will be using your location variables, and maybe even you'll probably want to keep track of something else to keep track of how fast it's going down, right? Just like you would with the bouncing ball. And we want to see the food. And your food display method is just going to draw the food. Okay. Now in here, you may want to get a little bit creative with the colors. If you've ever seen fish food, it's not always exactly the same color. You may want to play with some randomness. Right? And it's possible that you'll want some of the fish food to sink faster than others of the fish food. That's all very possible. Okay. Now, your assignment for the first part of this, because this project is really going to have 2 phases, your assignment is going to be first, we'll call it part 1. Get 1 fish and 1 food doing what they should do. So the fish should bounce around the screen and the food should sink. All right? So you'll need to, have your fish F or my fish or something like that. All right, and maybe a flake, food my flake. And then you'll need to go through, and just like we did for the bouncing ball projects, you're going to have to call your methods on your object. Okay, and so that's really what you're doing here. You're going to have your void setups, your void draw, and you're going to call all your objects or all your methods on your objects. Ultimately, you'll end up with something like this, right? This is just part 1. I've got my fish bouncing around. And I've done the mechanics of everything you're going to do in the next phases, and that's this. I can click my mouse, and whenever I click my mouse, a whole bunch of fish food falls into the tank. And you notice that some are falling at different rates. You may also notice the fish is eating that food. Okay, so we got the fish interacting with the fish food. That looks good. And I didn't bother to make mine real pretty. I don't want you to copy or anything. I want you to have some fun and make it look good for you. So if you want to go ahead, this is where we're going. And I'll be going over in the next videos the steps on how to get here. Okay, but like I said, your first assignment for now is just 1 fish, 1 food. Okay, good luck.